I got a question from a friend of mine about how it is that I go about structuring sparring for my students over here in LightHaven. Because when we're talking about developing a sparring program, we're looking to develop skills, we're looking to go beyond just the brawler mentality where I'm trying to hit him, he's trying to hit me, I'm trying to inflict as much damage as I can, and I'm not thinking about the damage that he or she may inflict on me. Now, when I first promised to do this video, I was very confused as to exactly what it is that I was going to show, because there's so many ways that you can go from learning a skill by yourself, solo training a skill, to using it in a sparring session or in a fight. However, I very quickly remembered that the way I was introduced to sparring in the weapon arts in PKT was very different. We looked at sparring in 3 different ways. We looked at distance sparring, technical sparring, and lastly full contact sparring. And this is how we're going to use to structure this video. Let's start by talking about distance sparring. Now I'm going to repeat this throughout the video, but the aim of this video and the aim of structuring sparring sessions in this way is not to cause the most damage. It is to cause the most damage efficiently, effectively, while taking the least amount of damage myself. And this is the tricky part, because it's very easy for us just to enter and swing, but we're also oftentimes, when I'm hitting my opponent, he's also hitting me. What the skill comes into, how do I set up entries and how do I escape or get out of range safely? For that, we need to look at sparring and the skills required for sparring slightly differently. It's in this context that distance sparring becomes a really important tool, especially when we're beginning, when we just started training. It's quite daunting for us to build combinations. This is where distance sparring helps a lot, because now, at least in the beginning, I'm going to now have a moving target, a moving partner in front of me, and all I'm focusing on is building combinations and having them move with my partner. So as my partner is moving, I'm following him or her with my combinations. I cannot reach them, they cannot reach me, and so there is no price for failure, and that's the really important part. If I'm constantly afraid of getting hit, then I most likely will not try new things. However, if there are no consequences to me failing, then it leaves me free to experiment and try and play around and really build a nice rounded skill set. Once we are comfortable with this basic way of distance sparring, where I'm just using my opponent as a moving target, and we can go to stage 2, which is now I am looking for patterns that my opponent likes to do. It might be an angle 1, it might be slightly the way he moves his feet, it might be how he telegraphs certain strikes. I'm looking for these patterns, and then still without touching him or her, I am looking to counter those patterns in the air. Here I'm not only getting to build my combinations, work them on a moving target, but now I can also start to look for patterns in my opponent, all in complete safety. Next, let's talk about technical sparring. Now, technical sparring is distance sparring +1, but I'm still keeping the range that I require for distance sparring, but now I am looking to touch my opponent without being touched. We don't target the body here, because oftentimes when I'm going to hit the body, people move in erratic ways and the head comes in front of the stick, and without me knowing it, now I've hit them in the head and they don't have any helmets on. So the targets here are just the hands and the legs. The goal is to touch without being touched, and this can oftentimes be really tricky, because the time when I am most vulnerable, when my arms are most vulnerable, is when I'm extending my limb to attack their limb. So here's where setups play a really big role. I have to maneuver my opponent into a position where now I can pick my shot and pick the target, whether it's the hands or the legs. Another thing technical sparring teaches me to do is to constantly be moving. Because my hands and my legs are targets, as soon as they're stationary or slightly exposed, my partner or my opponent is going to hit it. And so I have to keep my body moving, my arms moving, and my legs moving. I can't really be stationary unless I am baiting. And that's the last thing that technical sparring might help you with, is to learn how to bait. I might expose my arm just a little bit, enough for them to try and extend themselves to hit my arm, and that's when I hit their arm. We're going to take a short break in the video to talk about our sponsors, our patrons. It's notoriously difficult to earn any money off YouTube, especially in India, and without the support of our patrons, it would be very hard for us to put in the time and effort required to make these videos. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page and the exclusive content that we offer there, we upload about 3 exclusive videos there a week. Please check out the link in the description down below. Thank you so much to all of our patrons, and let's get back to the video. Once you go through this process of first distance sparring, then technical sparring, when you finally come to full contact sparring, it takes on a slightly different flavor, because now I am taking the lessons I've learned from the earlier two forms of sparring, and now I am carrying them into this way, into this form of sparring. So I am looking to still hit, enter, exit, hit without being hit myself. And so oftentimes the most technical fights that you see may have 1, 2 or 3 engagements throughout the fight, because most of the time is spent in maneuvering your way around your opponent into range and figuring out ways to set up strikes or to bait them so that again you can hit them without them hitting you. So this round with Sanjeev is a great example. It's so different from the rounds that you might have seen earlier between both of us, because here we're being really tentative. We're really taking our time because we've just done the other two forms of sparring. We're trying to be really technical, and that changes a lot. When you work sparring in this way, you are now developing skills. It's no longer just a brawl. And if you really want to take your weapon work or your martial arts, whatever it may be, to the next level, you want to be working in this way, where you're not looking to just hit with power and with speed, but you're looking to also work technique, you're looking to also work tactics. And that's where structure in a sparring program plays such an important role. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw, if you learned from what you saw, please do like and share this video. If you have anything to add, leave that in the comments down below. Please do subscribe to the channel. All of these things really do help out the school and the channel a lot. A huge thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you so much for your support. If you'd like to know more about our Patreon page and the exclusive content that we offer there, check out the link in the description down below. Lastly, thank you to all of my sparring partners. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next video.